More than 60% of respondents to a 1997 CNN poll said they believe aliens have contacted humans. Approximately 50% said they think aliens have abducted humans. And 80% believe the government is hiding something about alien contact.
In the 1970s, the skeptical magazine Fortean Times claimed a man had faked an archaeological artifact which had supposedly been discovered in Nepal. The famous Lolodov plate is meant to be nearly 9,000 years old and shows a disc-shaped craft with a small alien-type creature standing beside it. This controversial item is either a fake or one of the most obvious warnings from the past that aliens have visited the Himalayas. On the opposite border of Tibet stands the Bayan Kara Ula mountain range, which separates Tibet from communist China. There, small skeletons with oversized skulls have been found. The tribes in the Bayan Mountains have a detailed mythology involving star beings crash-landing spaceships in the distant past. Chinese archaeologist Chi Pu Tei conducted an expedition to the area in 1938 and discovered caves which had carved pictograms showing star charts, the moon and the earth with dotted lines showing the orbits of planets. Jade figurines have been found in this area, which display a remarkable similarity to the grey aliens reported worldwide by millions of people. The small skeletons with alien-shaped skulls were discovered in 1938. The skeletons were in graves on the floor of caves, which had walls covered in star map pictograms. The graves were laid out in geometric lines. Amongst these graves, hundreds of circular stone plates were discovered, which had spiral etchings on them. Each stone disc was approximately 9 inches in diameter and had a fine groove spiraling out from the center to the rim, making each disc look like a prehistoric version of a modern vinyl record. In all, 716 stone plates were found. These became known as the Dropa stones. In 1962, Professor Sun Nui at the Academy for Prehistoric Research in Peking translated the engravings on the Dropa stones. The history of local tribes were inscribed on the Dropa stones, which claimed that 12,000 years ago, aliens crash-landed in the Bayan mountain range. This was apparently one of the least successful alien invasions, as, according to the Dropa stone legend, the aliens were killed by local villagers because of their non-human appearance. Ancient Aboriginal rock art shows many examples of alien-type beings which are known as Wanjinas. Every year, Aboriginal tribespeople travel to remote parts of Western Australia and repaint the outline of the Wanjinas, who are known as the creator spirits of the Aborigines. By repainting the figures, Aborigines are making sure the memory of these Wangina creatures are never forgotten. Well, I had some copies made of some of the most important pieces of rock art from around the world, and this is a copy of a piece of rock art that was discovered by a chap called Joseph Bradshaw in the 1800s. And the Bradshaw Foundation has done really excellent work in finding, collating and protecting a lot of the rock art in Western Australia. And this piece of rock art has been reproduced in several books, most recently a book by Terry Wilson called The Secret History of Crop Circles. And this is a kind of facsimile copy. It makes it obviously a lot easier to look at the different elements when it's been copied into a painting like this. I suppose the most striking feature is this, what can only be described as a spaceman. It's obviously got, you know, some kind of space helmet thing there. There's some kind of bulbous point on his head. And then he seems to be looking in the direction of this kind of aeriform shape that seems to be floating in the air. Now, in the centre, you have a shape there that could easily be interpreted as a flying saucer. There's also these round spherical shapes. These are often found, actually, these round spherical motifs are often found in relationship to other motifs that can easily be interpreted as flying saucers. There seems to be some kind of wave pattern there. Obviously that could be, you know, birds in the distance, but it seems to me that sort of suggests some kind of wave energy. And fleeing from the spaceman and this aeriform and these spheres and this UFO are wallabies or kangaroos. And what's really fascinating is that in the lower right hand corner there are two figures, a man and a woman, which do not have Aboriginal facial features. In actual fact, they have European features. And this mirrors exactly what we find on the other side of planet Earth, where we have characters in rock art from, you know, thousands of years ago, centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries ago, with people with European features. Well, in Kimberley in Australia, in the ancient era from where all of this rock art dates from, there should have been no European people at all. And the same thing can be said about Central and South America. In Central and South America, these beings which we find in the ancient art in that particular part of the planet are called the Viracocha. And they were beings who came from the stars and gave the peoples of Central and South America knowledge of mathematics and astronomy and other forms of knowledge. And here in Kimberley in Western Australia, in an ancient era when there shouldn't have been any European people whatsoever, we again find this kind of theme of European-looking beings. And he has a beard. He has a kind of punky kind of Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten haircut. The woman has a very strange hair design that looks like some kind of medieval jester's hat, which is very strange. And the look on their faces is that of awe and terror. They're even sort of holding up their hands, either in veneration of this spaceman or in horror of the spaceman. Now, what's really fascinating is that on the ground, below the flying saucer and the spheres, you have a spiral pattern which is quite reminiscent of the spiral groove workings which we find in Ireland and Scotland on lots of the monoliths there. But this spiral pattern seems to be drawn in a kind of perspective way, and I think it suggests that there is a crop circle there. And of course we know that there are many, many pieces of footage of small balls of light actually creating crop circles. And this may be one of the most important pieces of evidence in the whole area of crop circle research. Now, another really very, very interesting point that I find is that the entire scene is encircled by a serpent, by a snake. This is the head of the snake, and it goes all the way around, and his tail is almost being swallowed. Now, the snake, you know, in a lot of books, I collect a hell of a lot of books. Mostly the snake is considered as a symbol of wisdom in the ancient era. And, you know, I thought, well, when I first came across this notion years ago, I thought, well, that's, you know, quite interesting. But, you know, when I look at snakes, and I live in a hot area where there are snakes, they don't particularly strike me as being really, really super intelligent animals. Certainly they have a vindictive kind of survival quality of intelligence, but they don't strike me as being like dolphins, which, you know, when you swim with dolphins, you can really, really tell that they're very, very, very intelligent creatures. And so I did some reading and research into how this notion of the snake representing wisdom and knowledge in the ancient world came about. And my research really led me to, you know, make this film in a way, because what I found is that it wasn't actually snakes that were venerated as being intelligent. It was the reptilian aspect to their being that was associated with reptilian or serpent-like creatures in the legendary histories of planet Earth, characters like Quetzalcoatl in Mexico that brought the civilizations of Central and South America, you know, fantastic knowledge about the stars, and other reptilian beings, such as Nukua, which was a reptilian goddess in ancient China. It was this notion that these reptilian beings that came from the stars, full of knowledge, genetics and science, which then was oversimplified